Imagine this. The year is 1945. World War II is ending, but the battlefield is changing forever. Tanks, planes, and automatic weapons have dominated the war, and military leaders around the world are already planning for the next conflict, a conflict that will be fought with faster, lighter, and deadlier weapons. In the Soviet Union, engineers are given a challenge: create a weapon that gives ordinary soldiers more firepower than ever before. The old Mosin Nagant bolt-action rifle, the one Russian soldiers carried through 2 world wars, had done its job, but it was slow. Fire one shot, work the bolt, fire again. In modern warfare, that delay could mean the difference between life and death. Out of this challenge came a rifle that was both revolutionary and overlooked, the SKS. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. A solid wood stock, a straight 10-round magazine built into the gun, and a simple semi-automatic mechanism. No curved magazine like the AK-47, no full auto fire like the later assault rifles. But the SKS was not meant to look flashy. It was designed to work, and to keep working no matter where it was taken. This is where the story gets interesting. The SKS was designed by Sergei Simonov, a brilliant Soviet weapons designer. He had one goal: give Soviet soldiers a rifle that could fire faster than a bolt action, be simple to operate, and easy to maintain in the mud and snow of Eastern Europe. And he did exactly that.
For the first time, Soviet infantry soldiers were given a weapon that could fire 10 shots as fast as they could pull the trigger. This was a massive leap forward. In World War II, semi-automatic rifles like the American M1 Garand had already proven how powerful this advantage was. Soviet soldiers finally had their own answer. But here's the part most people forget. The SKS fires the legendary 7.62 by 39mm cartridge. This is the same round that would later power the AK-47. It hits harder than most intermediate cartridges, has manageable recoil, and is devastating at close and medium range. In other words, the SKS was the first rifle to introduce Soviet soldiers to the round that would dominate the Cold War. For a brief time, the SKS became the standard rifle of the Soviet Army. Soldiers carried it across Europe during the last days of World War II and in the years that followed. But history was about to change fast. Only 2 years later, in 1947, Mikhail Kalashnikov unveiled the AK-47. It used the exact same round as the SKS, but offered something the SKS couldn't: a detachable 30-round magazine and fully automatic fire. For military planners, the choice was obvious. The AK-47 became the future. But here's the twist: the SKS didn't disappear. Instead, it spread like wildfire. Millions of SKS rifles were built not just in the Soviet Union, but in China, Yugoslavia, Romania, and many other countries. China's version, the Type 56, alone was produced in staggering numbers. By the time the Vietnam War began, the SKS was everywhere.
American soldiers who fought in Vietnam often wrote about their encounters with the SKS. Some even preferred it over the AK-47, calling it more accurate and reliable in certain situations. Imagine creeping through the jungle, hearing a single, well-placed shot, and realizing it came from an enemy with an SKS. That's how feared this rifle became. Even though it lacked the firepower of a full auto rifle, its accuracy and ruggedness made it deadly. Many American GIs brought captured SKS rifles home as trophies. Today, those same rifles are collector's items. But the SKS didn't just fight in Vietnam. It saw combat all over the world: in Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Asia. Any place where there was conflict, you could probably find an SKS in someone's hands. Why? Because it worked. It was simple to clean, easy to fix, and nearly indestructible. Mud, sand, snow, the SKS kept firing. That's why militias, freedom fighters, and even organized armies kept using it long after more modern rifles became available. And here's the fascinating part: even though the SKS is almost 80 years old, it is still relevant today. Hunters love it because it's accurate and affordable. Gun collectors love it because it's a piece of history. Survivalists love it because it's one of the most reliable rifles ever made. You can still find SKS rifles in gun shops across the world, ready to fire after decades of service. And for people living in conflict zones, the SKS is often the first and sometimes only rifle they can get their hands on. Think about that for a second. A rifle designed in the mid-1940s is still fighting wars in 2025. That's how good the design was.
years. The SKS was never meant to be flashy. It was meant to be dependable, and it succeeded. So is it outdated? Sure. Is it as fast as an AK? No. But good design never really dies. The SKS is living proof. This rifle bridged the gap between the old bolt-action era and the modern assault rifle era. It trained an entire generation of soldiers on the 7.62 by 39mm round. It fought in some of the most brutal wars of the 20th century, and it's still here. Maybe that's why when someone picks up an SKS at a range, they smile. It's not just a rifle, it's a time machine, one that still works as well today as it did 80 years ago. The SKS may not dominate the battlefield anymore, but it has something far more powerful, a legacy.